Your ears do not deceive you. One of the greatest bass lines in funk rock music history, or R&B, whatever you want to call it, courtesy of the late Marvin Isley, one of my top 5 bass players that had a strong influence on my bass playing. The Isley brothers, whew, the masters of funk rock construction and bedroom seduction, had the ability to get your ass on the dance floor, make the dopest musicians want to pick up the instruments and play, and at the same time help you seduce your lady in the bedroom. So I like to say the Isley brothers covered every gamut of music you can think of. I mean, going all the way back to the 50s when they were just a trio with Rudolph and the late old Kelly and, of course, Mr. Biggs, the one and only Ronald Isley. I mean, they were doing it on that level with Shout and Twist and Shout and all that stuff. And in the 60s, they signed with Motown and reinvented themselves again with pumping out records like This Old Heart of Mine and staying true to the classic soul sound that was happening during that period. And then, leaving Motown, come to find out in the 70s, these guys weren't going nowhere. It started at 69, they come back out and reinvent themselves into a funk rock outfit with It's Your Thing. And of course, as we all know, the younger brothers and the cousin, of course, Chris Jasper on keyboards, Ernie Isley on guitar, and of course Marvin Isley on bass, they just added a whole nother dimension to their sound and began to explore a lot of the heavy funk rock elements. I mean, between Chris Jasper's groundbreaking synth work and Marvin's pulsating funk bass, and of course, you know, Ernie's crazy Hendrix-like guitar solos and the minor 7 arrangements that he used for a lot of the group's famous ballads, it just all made for one dimension. Then in the 80s, they were able to join the ranks of all the contemporary R&B cats who was using synthesizer drums and programming and all that stuff, and they still kept it funky even then. Then, fast forward to the 90s, here we go, Mr. Biggs. I mean, you know, Ronald reinvents himself and keeps Ernie around, and just, they do Let's Lay Together and Mission to Please and Tears and Body Kiss and them last 4, 5 albums that the Isley Brothers made with R. Kelly and a bunch of other different producers, man, is incredible because they were able to stay relevant and stay current and still give you that classic Isley Brothers flavor. Not too many groups in these day and age from that old time period could do it, but the Isley Brothers still can. This is the reason why they have over 30 gold and platinum hits after hits, and they were able to change with the times and still keep the classic sound of what they built. And even Ronald Isley himself said in the interview that he always keeps his ear to the streets, but he never loses the foundation of what made him and his brothers who they are. So once again, you know, just like Rufus and Sly and the Family Stone, the Isley Brothers were once again a self-contained unit that produced their own music, and every musician in the group had an influence on my playing. As you can see, I just gave you a little bit of the whole, you know, why Marvin Isley is one of my biggest influences. I mean, listen to a line like Midnight Sky, you know. That's just sick right there. That whole style is just sick. So Marvin, and then of course, you know, Ernie, who had the ability to give you stinging solos like on Climbing Up the Ladder or Rock 'Em in Fire or Say You Will, and then just go right to a straight up ballad like Hello It's Me or Harvest for the World or At Your Best, and just give you straight up minor 7 chords on an acoustic guitar, and then still be able to give you like a little bit of the electronic lines and all that other stuff that he was doing. And then Chris just knew how to surround both elements. One of my favorite parts of the Isley Brothers sound, like on later albums like Go For Your Guns and Go All The Way and Grand Slam and Showdown and stuff like that, was when Chris Jasper started doubling Marvin's bass with synthesizer bass to make it even thicker. And it's funny because the Gap Band would later use that same technique with Robert Wilson playing bass and Charlie Wilson playing doubling his brother's keyboard parts for a lot of their later work. So it just goes to show you that the Isley brothers were always ahead of the game, and like I said, they were still able to be relevant at whatever time period, whatever's going on, whether it was disco, contemporary, new wave, whatever the case may be. The Isley brothers can meet you where you at and still remind you on why their classic sound will stand the test of time. So mega shout out to the one and only Mr. Biggs, one of my heavy vocal influences. Shout out, rest in peace to the late O'Kelly. Shout out to Reverend Rudolph Isley. You know, he's still singing for the Lord and praising the Lord. And as you saw in that last BET thing that they both did together with him and Ernie and Ronald, his voice ain't go nowhere. So shout out to him. Shout out to the entire family, the late Marvin Isley. Thank you for your years of influence on my bass playing. Chris Jasper, wherever you at, thank you for your keyboard techniques. Me and many other musicians benefit and learn from it. As most people have heard my album or even heard me post up on Facebook and Twitter, you already know how much of an influence the Isley Brothers music still has on my sound. Even to this very day, I still listen to any album, whether it be The Heat Is On or down to Body Kiss, or even the last one that they did as a group called Baby Making Music. I mean, they continuously put out great albums. So shout out to all of y'all. Thank you so much for influencing Law and many other countless musicians. Peace.